The Gospel reading this week is full of drama and grace. We're told that there was a crowd of people hungry to hear what Jesus had to say and see what he was going to do, because Jesus was a radical teacher who gave new insight and hope. He was a prophet who challenged unjust ways, and he was a healer who gave sight to the blind and enabled the lame to walk. It must have been a long day. 5,000 men, who knows how many women and children. Jesus knew that all those people would be getting hungry in the afternoon, so he asked his disciples where bread could be bought to feed them. Now, I've attended music festivals and national gatherings of young people, and there's a whole lot of planning and logistics that need to be done for thousands of people to be fed. So I imagine the disciples audibly gulped before Philip explained, quite logically, that even 6 months' wages would not be enough money to buy food to feed a crowd that big. Then Andrew said to Jesus, "There's a boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. I don't know if sarcasm was a thing in the first century Palestine, but there seems to be a hint of it here, because the suggestion was so absurd. There's a kid here with 5 loaves and 2 fish, I imagine Andrew saying with a shrug and a wry smile. But it seems that this was all Jesus needed to work with. He gave thanks for that little offering of bread and fish, and it was distributed, and in God's grace, the crowd ate their fill. Indeed, there ended up being so much that there were baskets of food left over. I've heard this miracle interpreted in 2 different ways, and each interpretation is worth thinking about. The first is that supernaturally, God created a whole lot of food out of nothing for people to eat. And the second is that the initial generosity of the boy caused others in the crowd to share what food they'd brought, and as this generosity was repeated, there ended up being more than enough for everyone. This miracle of feeding a multitude is recorded in each of the Gospels, but only John's Gospel suggests who gave those first loaves and fish. According to John, it was a child, generously offering whatever his mum had prepared him for lunch, unaware that a small amount offered wholeheartedly can be used by God to bless so many. It's a wonderful insight to take into our reflection about vocation and ministry this month. Of course, we each have a primary vocation to be followers of Christ and to use our gifts in some form of ministry. But we might think that our gifts are very small and insignificant compared with others. I know I do. But the Gospel reminds us that we're called to offer our gifts, trusting that somehow God will use them to be a blessing and develop them. I wonder what ministries God has called you to in the life of the church. You may already have a clear sense of using your gifts and abilities in your working life, and that is fantastic. You may also have a sense of using your abilities and gifts through some form of lay ministry in your parish, through leading worship or a Bible study group, through leadership and administration, by caring for the sick or visiting the lonely, by providing food and clothing for the homeless or running the Sunday school, by playing in the band or singing in the choir. The list of possibilities is a long one, but we're all called to be on the team somehow. If you're already exercising leadership in one or more of these areas of ministry, if you have a deep sense of God in your life, and if you long for others to know God's love, I wonder if God may be calling you to ordain ministry as a deacon or a priest. It's worth thinking about, I reckon. It's worth taking into prayer and sharing the possibility with someone you trust, someone who can give you wise counsel and pray with you. Wherever you are at this time, may God's Spirit bless and guide you as you consider the possibility of God calling you to ordain ministry. I pray in the name of the one who calls each one of us, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.